Time once again for the Kauffman Corner podcast. Rany, growing a lot of facial hair here with you as always. Not really. Rany Jazayerli on vacation, so one of the co-founders of Baseball Prospectus. Not in. Instead, we have David Lesky, publisher from Inside the Crown. I'm Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810 WHB. We are going to talk some pitching. Royals pitching coach Brian Sweeney is going to join us. We talked to him last year. Wealth of information. Always love talking to him. We know the great success that the Royals have had with their own pitchers, with guys they brought in. Always great to get a chance to talk to him. A little bit different this year as some of his staff has changed. When you win, when you succeed, people come and they look for your people. We'll talk to him about that and what they have going on. It's got some rehabs coming in. Going to be an interesting spring training from the pitching side. Looking forward to talking to Brian Sweeney, Royals pitching coach. It's coming up right here, right now, only on the Kauffman Corner podcast.
You're listening to the Kauffman Corner Podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Royals, breaking down the Royals like no one else can. Kauffman Corner is hosted by Rany Jazayerli and Soren Petro. Rany is a co-founder of Baseball Prospectus, author of Rany on the Royals, and a former columnist for Grantland, The Ringer, and The Athletic. Soren is the award-winning afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. Kauffman Corner is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. And now, here are your hosts, Rany Jazayerli and Soren Petro.
All right, thank you very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it. Off and running here on the Kauffman Corner podcast. And David, thanks for coming in here on a Sunday for Rany pinch hitting as he's off with a little R&R with the family. Of course, you hear David on the Thursday edition of the Kauffman Corner podcast. So double duty for David this week. But excited to talk to Brian Sweeney. Number one, he's obviously very good at what he does, but he's always fun to talk to as well and does, I think, a great job of – I understand why he would be successful in his job because he makes a dunce like me understand what he's talking about. I can see why the players, why the pitchers would figure out what it is he's trying to get across so well. I mean, he's done a fantastic job for the Royals so far.
Yeah, no, it's the turnaround's been incredible, and it's a team that deserves credit, but yeah, Brian Sweeney at the top of the list of that credit.
Yeah,
so
yeah, he is. It's been great, and we have Brian Sweeney here with us. He comes to us from the great state of New York, where we got snow yesterday. You're getting snow today, so enjoy. Right, we're all in a winter wonderland as we're just a couple of weeks away.
It's now. Baseball weather.
Yeah, exactly. Got you dreaming of Arizona, doesn't it, Brian?
Oh, it certainly does. But I don't mind the snow. I like to dive head into these storms. It's okay. It's get that nice cool weather, and then soon we'll be heading to Arizona, so we'll be all right.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. First of all, we do appreciate your time, and I know there's a lot that goes on in the offseason, a lot more than we fans think is probably going on. But I'm curious, when you say dive in, are you one like I like to drive in the snow? Like everybody else hates it. I like if you need all-wheel drive, you need four-wheel drive. But I enjoy, like, if it's going to be cold, I would just snow. I just assume it's snow every single day. Are you like that?
Oh yeah, I don't mind driving in the snow at all. I enjoy it. It's I love the seasons. Winter, spring, summer, and fall. It's that's why living in New York, you get the extremes for sure.
Yeah.
And we're getting an extreme today with that 18 to 21 inches of snow. Get that snowblower going.
Yeah.
Get out there, get a little exercise.
All right, let's dive into the pitching part of the equation. First of all, let's talk about you've got to change. Zach Bove, moving on. When you have success, people want your people. Just tell me about how that's been a little bit different here and putting together some of the guys that are going to work side by side with you.
He's a traitor. I'm so mad at him, Zach. I keep telling him why did you do that to us? I'm happy for him. Being getting to know him over the past few years and getting close to him, knowing his personality, getting to know his family. he was really instrumental with the rest of the pitching team and helping the pitchers get better. Sad to see him leave. Excited for his opportunity. Unfortunately, it's in division, so I'm sure it'll be some jabs back and forth going out there. Whether he runs to the mound or walks to the mound, that's first on my mind. I want to see what he's going to do there. But we have to move on, and we went through an extensive process to think about how we replace Zach and his position, and we could have gone a whole bunch of different directions, but came down to we liked the ingredients that we had, going into, with these past 3 years. So try to replicate those ingredients. And that's how we kind of started out, because it could easily have been Mitch Stetter coming to the dugout, our bullpen coach. Done a tremendous job and is fully capable of doing any job. He can kick me out and take over the team if he wanted to. He's just excellent at what he does. But again, we went back to the same ingredients that we had because Mitch was so good in the pen. Actually, Mitch's title has changed. He is now assistant pitching coach, bullpen coach. So basically, we'll have 2 assistant pitching coaches, and went through the process and found Mike McFerrin, who you guys have probably talked about, and the really cool journey that he has had. And it seems like a conspiracy now because we've got Q on staff, myself, and Mike McFerrin, all from the same neck of the woods. It almost looks like we're doing this on purpose, but we're really pumped to have Mike. His journey for learning, his eagerness to learn and to help players. He is perfect fit for us, and we're excited to see him in person and get on the ground and get going.
Yeah, no, it's he's got such an interesting background with the Wake Forest for 3-4 years. I forgot what school it was before that, and then getting into the A's system. How much with him with that hire? How much was his youth and maybe ability to like connect with the younger pitchers was part of that decision?
Not that much. It was actually, in the interview process itself, we had some really great candidates. They were excellent, and we had to really be objective about it, right? Use our rubric the proper way because it was so close. These guys were really good at what they did, but Mike was the best fit, and his age, yeah, he is young, so he's gonna call me grandpa or something here pretty soon, but having more about his journey, right? What he did in college and what he learned through the coaches that he had in college that he wasn't really getting the instruction that his brain was looking for. And then once that was over, and when he started coaching, he's like, well, how can I learn from that and start teaching players, right? And he started from the ground up, right? Working at an indoor facility in this area, the Hainer Sports Barn, and coaching teams, and then during COVID, just diving in and learning all about pitching, which helped him, get the job at Skidmore College here in Saratoga, New York, and then move on to Wake Forest, the A's, and now we're lucky to have him. He's going to be my right-hand man in the dugout.
That's great to hear you say Skidmore. For those of us that have spent some time in upstate New York, a buddy's girlfriend at the time when I was in school and now wife was Skidmore. So I heard about Skidmore all the time. So it's funny. I haven't heard about Skidmore since like 1993, but I used to hear about Skidmore all the time. Brought back flashbacks. I'm like, oh my God, Reggie's girlfriend. There we go. It's amazing to hear that area there. Brian, this past year was different, right? Like you guys had a lot of injuries you had to deal with. I mean, time and time again, I think as outsiders, we're like, oh, that's it. They're done. That's the one that breaks the camel's back. And, the organization, JJ and his staff did a great job of, continuing to find arms, and you and your guys did a great job of plugging them in. And the team never seemed to miss a beat. Like how much, I know next man up is the adage in all professional sports. It is professional sports. It's not little league. And, we just sit and cry for Timmy. You got to pick up and keep going. You worry about your teammate, but you got to keep going. But in the midst of that, do you even realize what's going on? Was it not until the end of the season that you realized just how much, trial by fire was happening when it came to the injuries you were dealing with that rotation?
Fellas, that gave me a lot of agita over the course of the year. These injuries, just more so for the individual themselves, right? I know that how hard they worked to contribute to the team and to help the team win, and then all of a sudden these they go down and they're gone for an extended period of time. I just feel for the person, and it really hurts my heart when guys do get injured. And then there's like that next step. You're right. It's like, okay, how are we going to replace a Cole Reagans, a Chris Bubich? This is not an easy job, and unfortunately we had injuries in the minor leagues as well that made it even more difficult to bring some guys up. We had to make that decision of trading Freddy, which was very, very difficult. Just an incredible human being and baseball player, but we did get back some really good arms, with Berg and Kolek, and excited to have them around. These guys, that we acquired, JJ, Scott, just everybody in the front office. That these acquisitions, we needed help. They went out and did this, and now we're better off for it. And we have a good amount of starters. Bailey Falter. We acquired Mason Black. Who could start or relieve. There's just we're a lot more comfortable this year going into the season.
Yeah, with all that depth, how does that work into next season? Because you've clearly got 8, 9, 10 big league starters. And obviously, there are injuries. We saw that last season. We also saw a year that didn't have injuries in 2024, which was you probably had a few less Tums in 2024 than you did in 2025. But I don't know. I'm just a Tums chewer apparently, so that's on my brain all the time. But how does that fit in? Like, are you looking at Chris Bubich on an innings limit, Cole Reagans on an innings limit, or a starts limit, or whatever? How are you going to get those guys all into the rotation at times?
Yeah, it's been a constant conversation over the off season, right? Injury risk assessments, workload management. Is it innings? Is it starts? Is it high intent? Do we go 6-man rotation? There's so many routes that we can go. And in all honesty, nobody solved this problem, right? Nobody solved, but we have incredible resources in Kansas City. We need to use all of them to help these guys run through the finish line, run through October, and help the team win. What that looks like, it's individual for each guy. Individual for Chris Bubich, for Berger, for Reagans, and even Lugo Waka. We have to really pay attention to detail and make sure these guys are firing on all cylinders. Now that's really hard to do over the course of a season. But if there's indicators that say, hey, this guy needs a blow or something, we really need to pay attention to that.
You mentioned the Freddy Fermin trade. Do you play a role? Do they give you video and say, take a look, here are some of the names we're looking at? Or is it just like Christmas morning, here you go, take a look. What do you open it up? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it does depend on the acquisition, but a lot of times it's here's that word, that collaborative effort.
Right.
It's the whole group coming together, right? You're getting a full 360 of who you want to acquire. We're talking to R&D, we're talking to medical, S&C, behavioral science, performance science, the pitching department, and ultimately that gives JJ the most information he can get to make the best decision for the organization. And it's really a fun process to watch, and we're doing it throughout the organization in all different areas when we're just doing our daily work.
So on that front, one thing I've noticed, the three big league acquisitions, is that right? It's Strom, Alex Lang, and who am I missing? I'm missing somebody. I'm blanking on the third one.
Side? Well,
yeah.
Nick Mears. Well,
Nick Mears.
Nick Mears, duh, of course. One thing, all three of them get chase. And that was something that was lacking from the staff last season. There wasn't a lot of swing on pitches outside the strike zone. Was that an emphasis this season? And then in addition to that, what other things are you guys emphasizing when looking for pitchers to bring in or to try to hone pitchers that you already have?
Yeah, there's you can't hide it, right? We're missing punch outs. We're missing the swing and miss. When we get to 2 strikes, right, we'd love to put them away. Let them chase, get the swing and miss, get the punch out. It doesn't always have to be that way, right? If Lucas Ursik throws a sinker inside to a right-hander on the first pitch and he grounds out to third, we're going to be extremely happy with that, right? Because his sinker plays really well. But if he gets to 2 strikes and he blows a fastball at the top of the zone for strike 3, we're happy with that too. However they want to build outs, but I feel like the more opportunity we get to 2 strikes to get that punch out, we're going to put ourselves in a better position. So yes, when we look at guys, we look at the chase rate, we look at the swing and miss in zone. We're taking a peek at a lot of different things, and getting Matt Strom, one of the best left-handed relievers in the game for the past few years is we needed somebody like that, right? Losing Zerp to Milwaukee, but we also got an incredible arm back that gets the chase with Mears, and he hasn't hit his ceiling yet either. There's more to him, so he's actively getting better in the off season. And then Lang has been, even from my time in Cleveland, he's been pitching well in the division. So I'm happy he's on our side now. So yeah, we pay attention to the details. Throw ideas, through each department and find the best way to acquire a guy.
Yeah, and that you talk about the chase rate and the punch outs, like you admitting, hey, that's one of the things we want to do. Like, have you been in this game long enough? Because I remember like it was almost a defensive nature of organizations to say like, we don't want strikeouts. We don't, it wears guys. It was almost like everybody wants to strike out. Like no damage is done. Right? Like it's okay to say the strikeout is good. It's also okay to acknowledge that we can't strike everybody out. Mm-hmm. So we want to limit the damage when we don't strike a guy out. But, it seemed like for me, for a long time, this game would sit and tell you that because they didn't, I don't know if there's so much failure involved in baseball, particularly from a batting side, that they didn't want to set anything else up to make it look like, well, we're failing to strike guys out. But have you noticed a change in the dynamics and that people, it's now okay to say, yes, we would love to get the strikeout?
Yes, it certainly has changed. From my playing days, it's like, how quick can you get this guy out? Now we still talk about that, right? We talk about getting that first pitch strike and early and ahead, which is making something happen in 3 pitches or getting 2 strikes within the first 3 pitches. These are things that we track, right? If we're making these things happen, our success rate is going to go up, whether we get a punch out or an out in general. Early in the count, we'd love to get weak contact, get an out. Right, get to 2 strikes. Let's try to punch them as quick as we can. Move on and then get the guys in the dugout to swing the bats a little bit. So yes, I think about my days. Everything was like pitch down in the zone. All right, you don't have a 2-seam. You need to throw a 2-seam like Greg Maddux so you can get the weak contact and ground ball. Well, my body was not conducive to throwing a 2-seam fastball, and it got hit all over the field, but I still tried because we wanted ground balls. You're right. Ground balls for double plays. I think with data and with all the information we have nowadays, we're able to predict a little bit better how this guy can pitch. Right. The way his body moves produces a certain profile. Those profiles are going to help them build a plan of attack versus righties and lefties, and that's going to produce a performance, right? And we're looking at that whole 360 right there. I think we're putting our pitchers in a good position to succeed.
I think it's funny that you mentioned, your body wasn't conducive to a pitch that Greg Maddux threw. I remember interviewing Greg Maddux when the Royals were still in Florida. That's how old I am, for spring training. And they were playing the Braves. And so I went into their clubhouse and was asking Tom Glavine. Tom Glavine was great to talk to. Maddux didn't really have time, but he lockered right next to Glavine. And I was just like, I was in better shape then. I'm like, I think I definitely would win a weightlifting competition against this guy. I'm pretty sure I could, like just the dynamics of pitching are so unique because Greg Maddux is more likely to show and be like, you need your refrigerator repaired. Like, I think he was body-wise looked like he could pull that off about as much as he could pull off pitching, and he was one of the greatest pitchers that ever lived. I mean, that always reminds me of just how difficult your job is. From Randy Johnson, who could dominate, to Greg Maddux, who was just as dominating in such a different way in the physical, differences, trying to tackle the physiology part of the equation in your gig is, I don't even know where you begin, to talk about throwing a curveball with Randy Johnson and Greg Maddux. They literally, it's like St. Bernard and Dachshund, oh, they're the same species.
Which one's which? Oh, no, sorry.
You're absolutely right. Each guy is different. We have to have an individual plan for each way that the guys move.
Yeah.
I'm not going to teach Michael Wacha to throw like Tom Seaver.
Yeah.
Right. That's not what his body wants to do. Michael Wacha does it differently than Tom Seaver did, right? Tom Seaver uses the ground more, right? Where Wacha's using, he's more, more upright, we call an aerial terrestrial kind of thing. Another resource that we use, with the Royals. So it's, you're not going to teach. There's not going to be a blanket statement saying this is the best delivery, because nobody's found the best delivery. The best delivery is the one that you can do to stay healthy, throw as hard as you possibly can and as accurately as you possibly can through a whole major league season. That's a good delivery.
Yeah. Kind of going back to the differences between pitchers and what we used to hear and what we hear now, it always used to be keep the ball down, keep the ball down, keep the ball down. That doesn't make as much sense, right? I mean, it feels like for some pitchers, absolutely. For Lucas Erceg to bore that sinker inside and down makes perfect sense. But also for him to throw his four-seamer at the top of the zone makes perfect sense. And maybe this is a technology question, but how do you balance that? And how do you determine, okay, you need to be in the upper quadrant, you need to be in the lower quadrant, the inside, and how do you determine all of that?
Yeah, that's a lot goes into it, and it changes too. This is ever evolving, right? It's very fluid, right? A few years back, it was if guys had carry on their four seam, you were throwing to the top of the zone, and that was it. Guys were swinging at it, popping it up, fouling it back. You were getting swing and miss up there. Hitters are getting better too. They understand. They know now. Oh, this guy's got carry. I have to get on top of that ball, and they're not missing it anymore. Well, what does that do? That opens up the bottom of the zone. If you have carry, right? You throw it low to the ground, and that thing's going to hold its line, and you got strike one down the bottom of the zone. How is he going to cover both? So it's that chess game between hitters and pitchers. It's always evolving, but there is a pitcher's strength. What is his superpower? What does he do really well? And we're able to pay attention and see that in the data. Where does he get his swing and miss? Where does he get his weak contact? What pitch is punching guys out? What gets the most swing and miss? And when they're educated on that, not just us, right? We can know that and tell them that, but if they need to be convicted in it, and then there's the next step too, is the catchers are calling a game. We have good catchers behind the plate. We have Salvi, been around a long time. He's caught Hall of Famers. He's caught, pitchers that have been there for just one day. And you have to educate the catchers as well, because they have to hit. They got a base run. Salvi's the leader of the team. Carter is, he's a rookie, and he's learning. So how do we educate the catchers as much as the pitchers to adapt to the ever evolving game of baseball?
I want to take a quick.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just that was how I was going to ask you about Salvi and Carter Jensen, how that fits in. You answered obviously, but I think it's so interesting going from. I mean, we can talk about this after the break, but going from Salvi and Freddy to Salvi and Carter Jensen, and it's that's a different dynamic. It's a very different dynamic for sure.
Yeah, we will talk about that. Let's do that. We'll take a quick break here. We've got the pitching coach for the Kansas City Royals, Brian Sweeney, is with us. We want to get into that. We also want to talk about the ballpark. What's that going to do? Everybody's excited about what it's going to do for the hitters. What's it going to do for his pitchers? We'll talk about that after you hear from our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let Gann educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. With free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty, Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot.
This isn't just any burger run. This is a burger run for Whataburger Sweet and Spicy Bacon Burger. 2 fresh all-beef patties with melty cheese, grilled onions, crispy bacon, and sweet and spicy pepper sauce. One for you, one for him, and one for your unofficial roommate, Brad. Always order an extra. For Brad. The all-time favorite sweet and spicy bacon burger from Whataburger. Just like you like it.
Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyers, serving KC for more than 40 years, voted Kansas City's #1 accident lawyers, helping people with serious injuries from car accidents, work accidents, falls, and other personal injuries. Northland Injury Law doesn't get paid unless they get money for their client. Don't wait, get compensated now. If you have a case, text HURT to 22222. That's HURT to 22222, or call 816-400-HURT. That's 816-400-4878. The choice of a lawyer is an important one and should not be based solely upon advertisements. All right, Brian, let's talk a little bit. Let's finish up what David was talking about there with the switch in catchers. You mentioned Freddy Fermin. I know how popular he was, how good he was. Obviously, tell how much the Padres thought he was really good, because you see the price that they paid was pretty steep. But now bringing in a young guy to partner up with Salvi, what all is this going to evolve for you, and what do you expect the results to be?
It's a lot. It's a tough job to come up as a rookie and be a catcher. The cool part is Carter, he was open to learning, and the development didn't start when he stepped into the major league clubhouse, right? He's been, every one of the guys in player development are preparing to get to the major leagues. What does that look like? What is that transition going to be? So, with Hoove, bench coach doing the catching, and JC Boscan and the minor leagues working with Carter. These guys are in constant communication. This is what it looks like. This is the resources we use. What do you like to use? So when he did get to the big leagues, he just had to worry about playing the game and not learning a whole new system. There was going to be plenty, reporters, different food, the travel. He was going to have enough on his plate. He did such a tremendous job of acclimating himself to the clubhouse. And then, having Luke Maley around with Salvi to kind of mentor him what more can you ask for? Those two guys who have done it for such a long time and done it well, showing him how to be a professional. Carter's done a great job, and we've had a quick conversation this offseason about what can I do to get better, and we're constantly working on helping him. Looking forward to his growth in the major leagues too.
All right. It's just us. Nobody's listening. What was your reaction when they said the fences were coming in? How did you feel about it? Remember, we're just talking.
Yeah. No, so I knew about it a long time ago.
Okay.
Because this wasn't just like a quick thing, right? This has been talked about, and it's been studied. Like the study that DMAC put together was amazing. Do I want the fences to come in? No. Do I understand why we're doing it and what it could potentially do? Yeah, sure. So, when we sat down and first talked about it, I didn't have any gripes. It's like, all right, how do we adapt and adjust?
Right.
And of course, I'm not like, woo, yeah, bring the fences in. But it wasn't. It's like, okay, what do we do now? How do I get it out of the pitcher's brain? Like, this is not something that we have to worry about.
I'm wondering if your eye test matched up with the data. You mentioned Dr. Daniel Mack, who's been a guest on this podcast. We love talking to Dr. Mack. And I always forget to call him doctor, so I made sure I called him Dr. Daniel Mack here right now. What a great guy. What a great resume, by the way. Notre Dame, Notre Dame, Columbia, and Vanderbilt. Yeah, if he could just get into a good school, then
how smart could he be, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, maybe the best beard game going right now with that finely coiffed beard he's got going.
He's so fun to talk to and so fun to be around. Every Scott Sharp, JJ, everybody in the front office. Renee and Lonnie. We love. Q's created that environment where we're all together, just in and out, upstairs, downstairs, and D-Mac, he's a gem. Love talking with him, and we have a lot of fun together. We play pickleball. He and I go play some tennis together. He's a competitive son of a gun, boy.
Really? Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he's very competitive, and it's fun. It's fun for us to get out and do that.
Next time I talk to him, I'll pick at that scab and find out we'll get some scores. Who wins, by the way, you or
yeah?
him?
That's my question.
Oh boy, we have a good time playing.
Okay. I hear modesty there, so that's what I hear.
Time.
I hear modesty. That's fine. We'll see if I can pry it out of him. No, my point for asking you that was, did you know when he comes to you and says, okay, here's our data and here's what it is, like I was a little bit surprised when he said, here's why we're keeping center field out there. We get good hard contact. There's plenty of balls that are already going over the wall there. We don't need to bring that in. And that I was like, oh, interesting. Okay. I guess I just haven't paid close enough attention for that to line up for me. I'm wondering, did the data line up with what you see, or was there part of the data that you went, oh, wow, really?
Yeah, I think the center field thing kind of got me a little bit, but it got me thinking. I'm like, okay, guys hit the ball well to center field. How can we take advantage of that? Right. So the batter's eye must be perfect, right? That's a huge batter's eye. How can we get out of the batter's eye? Is it a guy like John Schreiber? Do we move over onto rubber? Left or right, towards first base, towards third base, when the sun's shining on it a certain way. Is there a way to adapt and adjust as pitchers, right? That guys aren't seeing the ball as well. There's no point in me complaining about the fences coming in, right? It's me understanding what are we trying to do as an organization, right? It's going to help with our current roster and the way we're built. It's going to help the hitters more than the pitchers are going to be stung by it, and I could deal with that. And if there are adjustments that need to be made, all right, that's why we have a pitching team. Let's figure it out together. Or maybe it's going to be perfect for the pitchers. We hit some more home runs. The game's spread out a little bit. The starting pitcher's putting a little less pressure on, right? We're getting other people in the game on the back end, giving SD and Ursig some more rest. So there could be benefits to all of this instead of drawbacks on the pitching side.
I like that.
It's interesting. I hadn't thought about that before, and it kind of makes me wonder how much. I mean, how impressive was the pitching staff last season when they didn't have a lot of runs to work with, especially early. I mean, you're protecting a 3-2 lead, a 4-3 lead. So, you can brag on yourself a little bit. How impressive was that? But B, I wonder a little bit. You think about some of the injuries. There were a lot of stressful pitches being thrown in 2025. Probably, you probably have the numbers. Probably fewer in 2024. I mean, did that play a role, do you think?
I definitely, that physiological stress is something we're always paying attention to in game, right? It's like, okay, he may be at 85 pitches, but this is a tight game. He's had to work hard through the inning. It's like, we got to consider, pulling him a little bit earlier today, right? Because we still need him in September and October. These are things that we pay attention to. But if the score is 3-2 or 10-0, our job is to limit runs, to not let runs. And that's our job. And it doesn't give us gray hair. It doesn't stress us out. That's what we do. And that's what we're supposed to do. So it's, that's how we go about our business that way.
Yeah. Look, is there anyone that you think, oh, this guy's going to, totally master that? Like, does anybody tweak what they do, or is it just a matter of we want to keep doing what we're doing because bad contact's bad contact, or is it like we need to throw 5% more at this pitch, we need to throw 10% more this pitch? Is there any of that, like, specifics? Because I know the wealth of numbers that are put in front of you. Is there a different attack plan because of the fences?
I think time will tell. We're always assessing and adjusting. I think time will tell. Why would we change our approach now? When these guys know their strengths, they understand the hitter, they've got a good understanding of the hitter. They know their strengths. And just because the fences are coming in, why are we going to worry about that? We play in other ballparks throughout the year that are way smaller than Kauffman, right? Whether it's, Cincinnati, Yankee Stadium, where balls flying out of Colorado, we play at these other ballparks anyway. So, why would we change our approach just because our fences are coming in? We play more games there, but I think our approach is solid. And if it needs to change, we will change.
I just want to know, can we get a commitment from you to come on with Alec and duke it out over the stadium? And who loves it more? Or who, he fights for it, you fight against it. I just want to hear that debate between you guys.
I think we'd be on the same page.
All right.
Yeah, I am. If they asked me and said, hey, do you want to move the fences in, or do you want to keep them back? Of course, I would say let's keep him back. But when you put the effort in that DMAC and his crew did, and all the years, that this has been talked about, and you see the information, you can't help but be like, well, we care about this, right? We're trying to make the organization and the team better. And for me to complain about it, I think that's just really irresponsible. So I'm all for it until I'm not. So I'll let you know if that happens.
Okay. Last question, just kind of philosophically, how you guys have done a great job. There've been times, where there's been some offensive struggles, and your guys don't seem to like. I've covered, like I said, a lot of Royals baseball, and when the team was really down, you could see guys that weren't equipped to go out and try to strike the side out. We're trying to strike the side out because they felt like, I've given up one. We're not getting, I can't give up more than two, right? And how much is that a mental grind? Like in the offense has not been awful at all, right? But I'm just talking about theoretically. How do you, to a guy? Because my point of saying the old time was which I've done very poorly here, as I bounce all over the place. Maybe a top 10 worst questions of my career here. My point is, I've watched Royals teams that tried to do more than they can do, and it made them even worse. Guys that weren't very equipped got even worse. Your guys seem to really bear down, even when it looks like, oh my God, we're down 3-0. Our guys aren't scoring for a week. It's the 7th inning, but your guys seem to continue to battle. What is the mental message of, like, hang in there, fight the fight, do what you can do, don't try to do too much, and let's just see if the offense comes around, because it does, right? Just likewise, it goes the other way. You're in a 6-5 game in the 4th, and thinking, well, these guys are never going to get anybody out. Do the batters start to press the other way? Your guys always seem to do a pretty good job of staying within themselves. What is the message, and what is that just about the overall character of a player? Is there a message? Is there, weaponry you're giving them with the different pitches that make them be like, okay, I can reach back for this if I got to? Why do your guys seem to be effective at that?
No, yeah, I appreciate you saying that, but mentioning the offense, right? Maybe in the beginning of the year, there were some of those games, but in that, after the All-Star break,
yeah,
the offense turned it on. They were pretty good. And I think Zumi and the crew did a tremendous job not panicking, and I think that's part of it too. Zoom would come in, he's like, just stay with us, man. We're working real hard, and I know that. I know they're putting in the time, they're putting in the effort, to score runs, and the same way it goes for me, right? We go a week, we're giving up 7 runs a game, and it's like, Zoom, stay with us, man. We're trying. We're having a little spell here, but I do think it's on the pitching side, it is individual. Understanding who the guy is, you can't. I don't think you're able to talk to Michael Wacha like you would Alec Marsh, right? Different guys at different points in their career. What do we need at this point? If I make a mound visit, Q's awesome with this. I'll look at him. Maybe things are starting to speed up out there. I look, I say, "You need me to make a visit?" And he always says, "Only if you have something to say." Yeah. And then I nod my head. I'm like, okay. I don't let them solve their own problem out there, right? They got Salvi. He's got a good feel for the game, right? The infielders come to the mound too. They talk through it. If they become better problem solvers, we're becoming better as a team, right? They don't need me running out there, and occasionally I will, and right, and then I'm talking to the individual on the mound. All right, we got bases loaded, nobody out, right? We're going to play the infield in. All right, knowing that situation, John Schreiber on the mound, and this kind of happened in San Diego. We ended up losing the game, it's like, okay, what's your ground ball pitch? What are you going to get the ground ball? It's like sinker in. So, all right, let's try to do that. Let him hit it to Bobby and see if we can get a double play, get the guy out at home. It didn't work out. He executed the pitch. We lost the game. We have to tip our cap. That's baseball. All right. But he did the right thing. We needed a punch out and a ground ball, right? 3 punch outs would be great. What are the odds of that? But Schreiber can get the ground ball, the weak contact to hit the third base. Maybe something good happens. So, these guys understanding themselves, knowing who they are, they want to be in the fire. They want to be in that fire. It's what they do. That's how they compete. So, you know, when shit does hit the fan, they're ready for it. They're mentally ready for it. They're physically ready for it because they're educated on what they're good at. And if things don't go well, all right, give them a day. Let's talk about it. What would you do different? Right? What would you do different that day? Nothing. I got the ground ball. You know, it just didn't quite work out. Awesome. Let's move on. You're going to pitch tonight anyway. So it depends on the guy. Some guys, you know, some guys need a hug. Other guys just was like, I'm ready to go. Put me back in there. I need it. So individually, you treat them like the major leaguers that they are, understanding who they are, and you know that we're playing for something a little bit bigger than ourselves. We're fighting for that. And I know that they didn't mean to do. They don't want to lose the game, right? But we're providing them the opportunity to be in these moments. So when it happens down the line, they're going to be better. They'll make better decisions. If they make good decisions, I think, you know, we can all sit back. That's what I love doing during the game. It's like, okay, they're between the white lines. They got to go do it. I like kicking, especially in the first couple innings, kicking my feet up and just watching the guys do their thing. Later in the game, we had a little bit more thinking, but it's like, let these guys solve their own problems. They'll be better for it down the road.
Brian, we're better for it every time you talk to us. We really appreciate your time. You're very generous with it. I know we get great feedback. Just, you know, the fans really love hearing from you. I get all kinds of great feedback when you're on, and so I know they appreciate very much what you do. We certainly appreciate the time you give us. I'm always smarter after having talked to you. So
I don't know about that. I don't know. I'll tell you, my nephew Craig, he loves the show. He loves listening to you guys. So it's you know, he's a smart dude. So if he says that, then I think it's okay. But you know, I am grateful. You know, I am grateful for the fans and the trust that they put in us. You know, that we get the opportunity to do what we do, and you know, help make a pitching legacy in Kansas City, but also, you know, fight to win the World Series. So that's, you know, we're working hard every day, and you guys do a good job of reporting, you know, what we're doing well, what we're doing bad, right? We need to be held accountable. It does, you know, that is a thing too. And, you know, so I appreciate that as well.
Well, I will tell you, having covered really good and really bad Royals and Chiefs teams, it's a lot more fun covering the really good ones, right? Because there's less, when there's less to hold accountable for, it's a lot more entertaining. So
well, let's try to keep it that way for the next like 10 years.
And that is definitely what we've had with you and Q and JJ and the whole group. So it's been a lot of fun. So Brian, hey, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. We're going to chat some more and kind of reflect on some of the stuff you did, but we want to let you go and get to your shoveling, snow blowing, snowmobiling, whatever you need to do to dig out there in upstate New York.
David, Soren, thanks. Enjoy being on the show.
Brian.
Absolutely. There he goes. Brian Sweeney, pitching coach for the Kansas City Royals. And I want to take a quick break because I don't want to get behind here, but I want to come back. I want to talk about one. He mentioned legacy. That's something in one of the first conversations I had with him, he mentioned. I think that's of note. Also, just, you know, talking about the good times and the bad times. I think there's some really interesting stuff there I want to get into. So still a lot more to discuss about the Royals pitching. Brian Sweeney, kind enough to join us here in the program. We will do it after you hear from our friends at Frontier Justice.
This episode of Kauffman Corner is brought to you by Frontier Justice, where freedom is a lifestyle grounded in safety, responsibility, and respect. With locations in Lee's Summit, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas, and Jenks, Oklahoma, Frontier Justice offers firearms retail, a premier indoor shooting range, and training all under one roof. Whether you're new to shooting or a seasoned pro, you'll find expert staff, top-tier gear, and a strong sense of community. Faith, family, freedom. That's what Frontier Justice stands for. Visit frontier-justice.com to learn more.
Green Light Dispensary, voted Kansas City's best dispensary and your go-to for quick, convenient service. With 4 locations across the Kansas City area, we're never far away. Our drive-through and express windows make it easy to get in, get out, and get on with your day. Our award-winning service is powered by a team of experts dedicated to making your experience seamless and enjoyable. It's no wonder we've been voted the best. Convenient locations, fast service, knowledgeable staff. That's the Green Light difference. Visit us today.
All right. Again, thanks to Brian Sweeney. Always love talking to that guy. You know, one of the things I mentioned a couple of things we want to talk about, David, but real quick, just, you know, the caliber of person And he talked about how much, you pop into Daniel Mack's office, upstairs, downstairs, everybody coming and going. They create, you can tell by the character of the individuals. I can tell you, Matt Cotrero, I think listen, all baseball managers, they talk so much in front of the cameras. There's some times where I'm like, you are an incredibly patient man, because that question sucked. Kind of like when I stammered through there with Brian.
For the record, I don't think that was top 10. The top 25, maybe, not top 10. You've had worse.
I had a plan, I had a thought, but I mean, we were bouncing everywhere to get there.
Yeah.
But I thought, and to the character, I really wasn't thinking about the offensive struggles they had last year, but to the character of Brian, and I think even, to the character of Alex Zumwalt and everyone in that organization on the hitting side, he didn't run from the idea that they struggled to score runs early. He addressed it. And not only do I think they have quality people that makes it easy for them all to work together. And I think having chemistry and not being like, well, that jackass down there isn't going to use the numbers I send. If you're, Daniel Mack, I'm like, I don't need another, like if you don't get along, it's a long season. Every single day you're together and doing all that. They obviously have put together a great camaraderie and a great chemistry, but also they're adults. Okay. They're men, they're women. They stand up like adults. They are not childish. And I'm always impressed with how honest and willing to discuss shortcomings they are. And there aren't many of them. Let me be clear. It's not like we're talking about shortcomings all the time. They don't have that many, but that is such a sign of confidence. And I feel so much better. Steve Spagnuolo is a guy on the Chiefs side I would point to that will tell you, yeah, they got us. Yeah, we thought they were going to do that. They didn't. I feel so much more confident as a fan when I hear people acknowledge when something didn't go right or acknowledge a mistake, because it means they have identified it and they know how to fix it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be talking about it. And I feel like that every time I talk to anybody on the Royals baseball side.
Totally agree. And not to throw anybody under the bus, but in the past, there have been people who did not do that.
Yes.
And would bristle at criticism when they're losing 100 games and would get called out. How dare you criticize me for my team that's 47 games under 500? Well, because you stink. Sorry. And what I don't know. I'm going to get this wrong. The adage of you learn from your mistakes, right? Like if you don't know, if you won't acknowledge your mistakes, you can't learn from them. And nobody's perfect. I mean, you look at the Dodgers, they won the World Series. They won 93 games. It's a really good season. It's not a great season. I mean, everybody has issues. Everybody has problems. Everybody does something poorly. If you ignore it, you're not going to get better at it. And you're right. It provides confidence. It shows the caliber of human being. It shows the ability to overcome that I don't think they've had in the past. They have had in the past. I don't think they had at times in the past from people. And yeah, that was the biggest thing. I mean, I could talk to him we could have done a 10-hour podcast and I never would have been out of things to say. I wanted to ask him like the dumbest questions that just go through my head watching a game. Like, no, we only have him for a little bit. I'm going to hold off. But that was the biggest thing I took away was, hey, he knows when things go wrong and he's not afraid to talk about them.
Yeah, no, it was impressive. I'm always impressed by him. And, his enthusiasm. He talked about building a legacy. I remember talking to him at spring training when he first got to the Royals, and he was just so bubbly and so bouncy and so full of energy. And I was like, I can tell this guy's really excited for this opportunity. And he said at that time, I want to build a legacy, a pitching legacy here. And I was like, I love the excitement. I mean, and everybody's eager the first time they get that promotion to get to work and do it all and prove themselves. But to say I want to build a legacy, he didn't say I want to have success or I want to be the greatest, the greatest at this or that. He was not afraid to say, I'm not just trying to keep a job. I want to really do something special here. And then he talked about all the other people that it would take to do it and everybody being on the same page and Matt Cotrero and analytics and all that. He had a vision for what he wanted it to look like. And I think it's very clear he is, I don't want to say has built because he it's 3 years, right? But he is clearly on his way to accomplishing what it is he said he wanted to do and building a pitching legacy. When you see people say Ryan Burgert's, yeah, he's all right. And then he comes in and he dominates. Cole Reagan's live arm, a lot of injuries, Cy Young caliber pitcher. Like, he is well on his way to doing exactly. And again, I go back to the point I had before, not afraid to put it on the table, not afraid to be honest, because there's a confidence that we can do it. And, and well on his way to accomplishing what he said he wanted to do and build that pitching legacy.
Well, and I think, and I don't know, I'm not there, so I could be wrong here, but he mentioned that they could have promoted Mitch Tedder. Not promoted. They could have moved him to the bench because they did promote him to the assistant pitching coach. I think that takes a very strong staff that is building a legacy to have a guy say, I'm good to stay in the bullpen because you found somebody who you think is the right fit on the bench. And I mean, we haven't seen it hasn't played out yet. So maybe Mitch Tedder gets upset. I don't think he will, is my gut. But I think that's really interesting that, hey, there was a guy who was qualified, very qualified to move from the bullpen where you're watching the game with binoculars to the bench where you're watching it in the best seat in the house. And they're okay with that. And that's another mark of a good organization is what's best for the team. What is very best for the team and the organization. It doesn't, even though I want something different, I don't know if Mitch Tedder wanted that even, but I think that's a huge feather in their cap that they're just doing the best thing for the organization. And that is how you build a legacy. And you're right. Berger, Reagan's, Stephen Kola came over and he was the afterthought. And then he came out and looked like it was 5-6 starts, whatever it was, but he does that over 30 starts. He's getting Cy Young votes too. I mean, these guys who nobody thinks about. Seth Lugo came over. It was a nice contract. He finished second for the Cy Young. And I mean, that's Lugo. And I think Brian Sweeney would be the first one to say it's not me, it's the pitcher. But it's also him and his staff. And yeah, I think that legacy is being built.
Yeah, it is
well on its way.
What else? Anything else you want to underscore from our conversation that really resonated with you?
I thought, and I want to look at this now, I thought it was fascinating when he talked about the batter's eye in center field and how they might want to move some angle. And I'm like, that is why didn't I think of that? And then the reason, and then it's, if I had thought of it, I'd probably be, working for an organization and not sitting here because it's so simple, but so smart. And that is one of the things I'm going to watch now. Okay. Is Cole Reagan's an extra 2 inches to the left, so his arm comes out a little bit? But then it also, you mentioned John Schreiber, and I've thought that he might be a trade candidate because he and Nick Mears are so similar. But maybe that's not the case because he does come from a different angle. And there's a guy like AJ Causey who ended up in Double-A and then went to the Arizona Fall League this year. He's a different arm angle too. I wonder if they're going to start to get a little bit funky to try to counteract that batter's eye. That was interesting to me.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was interesting as well. And, just talking about, number one, not surprised about the fences. This has been in the works for a long time. That's a little bit different message than what we heard, which I think we all knew. They didn't sit down and say, all right, this week we're only working on the fences.
You don't just wake up. Yeah.
And in a way, JJ said it goes all the way back to Eric Hosmer, hitting the ball off the wall for the triple in the playoffs, that's where he just said it really began, right? That was the beginning of the conversation. So yes, this has been a constant discussion as you would, but I thought that was interesting. And I thought, it's what I expected him to say, that look, what we got to do, what's best for the team, that's what we're all here to do. And so, but I did think it was interesting to be like, no, he was, but no, I don't want them coming in, but I get it. And we'll deal with it.
Yeah.
It'll be there. That, and then I do think that, I remember Steve Spagnuolo, there was a game several years ago. I mean, really 2 years ago when they kind of made their run and won the championship, and they won it with defense, where he said, we've had so many great days offensively. It's really nice. They won a game down in the teens. And he said, to win a game where we did it, where we were on the field, we had to get the stop and we got the stop. He said, so often it's been Pat and the offense on the field, and Pat needed a score and Pat got it done. It feels great to be the ones that were out there. The team needed us to get it done, and we got it done. And I did feel that with him, right? Like that there is there are days that we got to win 2-1. And when we do, there's that ultimate satisfaction. There's also days where they bail us out and we win 8-6. And, you buy a couple of Coronas for the guys that swing the bats, and the guys that work over there. You do feel that camaraderie and chemistry of that's there, but also the satisfaction that you want it to be your day. Today was the day we won 2-1. That was us. That was us, guys. We nailed this down. Club needed it. We got it done. feel good as you go home tonight. I think that's one of the cool parts about sports, cool parts about team sports in particular.
Yeah, for sure. And it's kind of unique to, well, not unique because it's two sports, but baseball, football are the two that you have two very different sides of the ball. Basketball, right? The guy defends it. Well, not all of them defend, but they play both sides. Hockey, same thing. Soccer, the same thing. But with baseball, you've got a pitcher on the mound, and especially now, he doesn't hit. Like, there's not even that side of it. It's one of the few places where there is you can win on one side of the ball. And I look, anything that these guys are competitive. And he mentioned him playing pickleball with I want to call him Dr. DMAC now. I think that makes, I like that. But I mean, everybody's competitive. And so competition breeds success, right? I mean, we talk about this, pitchers doing well. One start leads to two good starts, leads to three, leads to four, leads to five, because they're competing with each other. The offense and pitching staff can compete, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing for the organization, and I appreciate that. Yeah,
it is. Again, we thank Brian Sweeney for giving us some time, pitching coach for the Kansas City Royals. Always fun to talk to him. And I'm like you. I mean, I could sit and talk to him for a long, long time. Like, so many different questions that you'd be like, oh, okay. And then let's talk about this, because he does. I mean, do you agree? You see the, easy nature and why it would be so easy for guys to, really get in a rhythm with him, and why he communicates so well with the pitchers?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a part of me that just wants to sit and listen. Let's just talk pitching. I'm going to listen to it for however long you want to talk. I really want to know. We got to get him back on, because there was a conversation a year ago maybe, and it was, what's the one stat that you would look, if you were given one stat to look at to determine the best pitcher? And it's just a stupid question, but what is that one stat? And I want to know that answer from him, because mine is probably strikeout to walk percentage.
I like that.
But I think there's a lot of argument in zone whiff rate. He mentioned that, so maybe that's his answer. But I like stuff like that. Just little one-off questions that I think about while I'm supposed to be thinking about other things. I would want to ask him all of them.
Yeah, I agree. Like velocity. Like, I know it's not all about velocity, but does velocity show you that they can do everything else? You just got to unlock it. Yeah. Right? Because I know people who have kids who's, they throw 88 and they're effective at the junior college level. Like, they won't even give a look. It's not just about throwing the fastball hard. I believe it's about, if you can throw the fastball 99 miles an hour, you probably in there is the ability to snap off a curve, right? Mm-hmm. You just haven't unlocked it. I think just those kind of things, digging deeper and deeper and deeper. I think it's great. And he's never struggled to answer anything I've ever thrown at him. So, he's got the answer. We just got to ask the question.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm with you. We need to bring him back. Listen, make sure you support our great sponsors here at the Kauffman Corner podcast, because they are great, supporting great local sports, coverage of local sports like Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com. North Lane Injury Law. If you've been hurt in an accident, work, driving, whatever, text HURT to 22222 or call 816-400-HURT. Greenlight Dispensary of 15 locations in Missouri. More on the way. Proudly bringing you the Kauffman Corner podcast. Whataburger's open 24 hours a day, serving breakfast 11 p to 11 a. Get over there right now as you dig out from our snow. And our friends at Frontier Justice, locations in Lee Summit, KCK, Jenks, Oklahoma. Whether you're new to shooting or a seasoned pro, find expert staff, top-tier gear, strong sense of community at Frontier Justice. They're online at frontier-justice.com. For our man, David Lesky, in for Rany Jazayerli. Enjoy your vacation, Rany. I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here